Hello, Rod Kane here from Washington Grand Company. I'm going to do a quick video today. It's been a while since I've done any of these, but I'm getting ready to head off to Historicon and a tournament event, several tournament events, and I thought this would be a good time to do over a video of what should you bring to a tournament game. So let's say you're a new player, you're coming to a tournament for the first time. The tendency for convention type games, everybody brings the material to put on a convention game. It's all provided for you. Tournament's a little bit different. When you come to a tournament, you're typically bringing your own army, but you're also bringing some other things that you're going to need to help you play, help you participate in the tournament and be ready to play and participate to the fullest. So some basic things that you're going to want. You're going to want your rule set, of course. Preferably, if you're going to be using any battle cards in your particular army, you're going to want to have the battle card rules for Triumph. If it's a fantasy tournament, you'll want to have the fantasy rules. They can be electronically, or I prefer to have them printed out. Along with those rules, it's also good to have a QRS of the terrain setup for battle, as well as a QRS for playing. So you want to have those available. But then beyond that, some other things that help with the tournament. It's nice to have a die cup. Obviously dice. Why would you have a dice cup or a dice? You can also have a tray that you use for dice rolling. Dice cups are nice because you turn them over and the dice don't go shooting across the table. So a dice cup is nice. Another option is this is a tray that I use for my 15mm armors. Another thing you want to have at a tournament, a tray to carry your army from table to table to move from game to game. But these trays can also double as a place to roll your dice. So the dice don't go shooting across the table, hitting your figures and other people's figures or onto the floor. So we've got our rules, maybe our battle cards, supplemental rules, a tray, dice cup. Another important thing that gets overlooked, obviously your measurement tools. For Triumph, it's nice to have some nice MU measuring tools. You can make them yourself. These are the ones that I laser cut. These are for 28mm on 80mm base widths. But in addition to the measurement tools, I like to have a set of sticks. These are command sticks, basically. And what these are, basically, they're 16 MU. So they work really well for maximum command range, and they also work for half command range. And the other thing that they work really well for is setting up terrain, because by taking these, putting them on the table, I can make my grid for my terrain layout based on the terrain cards. Terrain cards are another thing that's nice to have if you have them, or you can use the back of the book. So a set of command sticks. If you do a little bit more work, you can turn them into what I call wheel sticks as well. So this works as both a command stick and a wheel stick. It allows you to wheel a line of units by putting them in the right place because they have the 80mm frontage marked off. Another important thing, bring a battle mat if you can. So if you're going to a tournament and you're bringing a particular army, it's always nice to have a battle mat that has an appropriate depiction for your terrain. So if it's dry, if you have an army from a dry climate, if that's the topography of your army, bring a dry battle mat if you can. Another thing you should do is you should bring some terrain pieces. I like to use a cutout piece of cloth or felt. If it's going to represent rough terrain or rocky terrain, I might put something like that on there. Forest, a little clump of trees, a couple clumps of trees. Typically, I like the trees to be movable so that the edge of the terrain doesn't change, but the trees can move out of the way for figures. Plowed field. I like my hills to be three-dimensional, although and with a nice crest line on them. I do like to make them so that my figures will stay on them without falling off. You don't have to have a three-dimensional hill. You can just draw a crest line on a flat piece. How much terrain should you bring? Obviously, new players starting out, you're not going to have a lot of terrain. But you should bring the terrain you need, once again, for your home topography of the armies you're bringing. So let's say you're bringing one tournament army or two tournament armies. You should try to bring at least 6 pieces of terrain that would be appropriate for a max terrain setup for that particular army. So if you win the terrain, and you win the maneuver, it's in your home topography, you have terrain pieces to set out. And if everybody does that, you basically have enough terrain to cover pretty much any match that you're going to meet up with at the tournament. So the main purpose of this video today was just to show you some of the accessories that you should bring if you're coming to a Triumph tournament event. This is the typical 48-point armies meeting up with 48-point armies. So hopefully this was helpful, hints for new people coming to tournaments. And for those of you coming to Historicon, hope to see you there soon. And for future tournaments, you guys will have an idea of how these things are set up and what kind of things you'd be expected to provide yourself. Even though lots of people will bring these items, there's usually stuff to share. These are the things that you should bring for your tournament armies when you come to a Triumph tournament. Once again, my name's Rod Kane. The game is Triumph, and hope to see you gaming somewhere soon. Thanks.